Today we are going to be talking about an article that was sent to me a few times over like Instagram, Twitter, just different social media places. It seems to be that people kind of wanted to hear my opinion on this article. So without further ado, let's just get into it. This is the article right here. It is from The Cut from February 10th. And it goes on to say, I never asked to be the face of a movement. TikTok made Remy Bader a body positive influencer behind the scenes. She struggled with an ED. And this is a photo of her right here. So it goes on to say, I started posting on TikTok in September 2020. I'd lost my job in the music industry a few months earlier, and my dad, who works in women's fashion, encouraged me to join a small agency as a curve model. It was fine, but I still had all of this downtime and felt like I was losing my mind. So I started messaging influencers, asking to work for them for free. A lot of influencers would say yes to that, which is where when I came across the curvy fashion side of TikTok, I was watching these girls who looked like me or were bigger than me doing fashion hauls, and I noticed that they only showed the good clothes that fit, clothes that they looked amazing in. That was fine, but for me, trying on clothes had never been fun. I always had been curvier girl. I was size 10 to 12 growing up, and my mom literally had to force me to go shopping because I hated it so much. I can kind of relate to that. When I was, growing up, I was always kind of overweight, and so I always wished that I looked certain ways in clothes, and there was like different styles. Like when I was younger, people just started wearing skinny jeans, and you weren't going to catch me dead in them, even though I wanted to wear them really bad. It just wasn't going to happen, right? And so I remember having these thoughts of like, I wish I could dress a certain way. It just doesn't work for me, right? And so I'm sure a lot of people related to that. One day I got a package of clothing in the mail. I think it was either Nasty Gal or Pretty Little Thing, and I decided to make a video of myself trying everything on. The clothes were based on my measurements, and in the video I was laughing in the mirror, both of myself and how bad most of these clothes looked on me. It was for fun. I never thought anyone other than my friends would see it, but the video went viral. I mean, it was viral in my mind. I don't know if it got 10,000 likes. Still, I was sending it to friends like, wait guys, this is happening. That's when I started making what I call realistic clothing hauls. I try on clothes that were supposed to be my size and just poke fun at how ridiculous they looked. The videos went nuts. My comment section was full of people saying things like, oh my God, I feel this. Wow, that's so true. That's how I've always felt in the dressing room. So basically this is kind of where I think we see where the influencer part kind of starts. You see something that works and then you decide either to be like, oh, that's cool, but I don't want to continue making that content, or I'm going to double down. And a lot of times people double down because it is fun to have a lot of engagement and have a lot of comments and people agreeing with you. As much as you might hate influencer culture, that stuff is addicting, right? And so a lot of people are like, all right, I'm going to make content like this. And it seems like that's what she kind of did. Double down and is like, all right, I'm going to start making content like this. I started uploading around once a day. Bro, that's gnarly, but I'm just lazy. The hauls were the most popular thing, but sometimes I'd sprinkle in more personal videos. I'd talk about my anxiety or my struggle with binge eating sometimes, something I'd started dealing with right before the pandemic. I'd gained a bunch of weight, in part because of the binging. And by the time I'd lost my job in 2020, I was a size 14 to 16. To be honest, I was in denial about it for a while. I was still walking around in clothes that were too tight because I did not want to shop for new ones. So in a way, these hauls helped me take something frustrating and add a bit of humor to it. I know what it's like to wear clothes that are probably not your size anymore. Over the next few months, next 3 months, my audience continued to grow. People were coming out of nowhere. By January 2021, I had millions of followers. That's crazy growth. When I'd call out these famously thin-centric bands, they'd reach out to me. They'd give me clothes, and some of them would even ask me to consult for them. Right now, I'm consulting with Victoria's Secret Pink to help it fit and expand sizing. But as my following grew, I started getting haters. A lot of it was just negative comments from random men or people that were just like, "You're fat. We don't want to see this." I'd get a lot of fat bee, fat whale. People are assholes. But I also started getting backlash from the body positive community. What a surprise. Last year, I worked with Revolve to expand its size chart up to 3X. We changed the whole size chart, but even then, the whole plus size community on TikTok went against me, saying things like, I can't believe she's getting credit for this, and she's only going up to a 3X. And so I went back to Revolve right before the launch, and we ended up pushing to 4X at the very last minute. Still, people in the community weren't happy. You're not even talking about brands that are truly size inclusive. They'd say, why are these publications and people looking at you as this great plus size creator? So again, it's like one of those things, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's kind of like people are just going to see something to be upset about. I've kind of always felt like it's obviously good for brands to expand their sizes, but also like, why don't we just have brands that exclusively cater to people that are bigger. The thing is like, it sucks when those brands are also premium, because now it's like even more expensive because it's like different and it's premium and it's catering to people that you normally don't. And so the prices are insane, right? That sucks. But I don't know. It's like one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to buy from them because for so many years they wouldn't make clothes my size. It's like, all right, that's something that happened with Lulu. I remember a lot of people talking about that. Yeah, it sucks. Another reason why certain people in the plus size community weren't on my side is because I will openly talk about being unhappy with my body. That's a no-no. When I say I'm not the happiest right now or I don't feel great, some people will say Remy's fat phobic. I've even been criticized for having too many skinny friends, but I've gained probably 80 pounds over the past few years. I'm only 27 and I'm getting a lot of health problems. That's huge. 27 and you're having a lot of health problems based on your weight is what basically you're saying, right? And it's insane because this is what people do on the internet. They will find someone that they relate to, and then they will attach themselves to that person, right? Something that we see a lot of times with people that are losing weight, right? They'll make a channel, they'll make videos. People are like, wow, I'm losing weight too. This is so great. But a lot of times, maybe that person starts struggling with losing weight, right? They can't lose weight anymore, but they're still making videos. Those people that will have attached themselves to them will start to get upset at that person because they're losing weight, but why aren't you losing weight, right? And then they'll start to get upset because a lot of times, right, when you make videos and they do well, you start to get sponsors, you start to get ad revenue, you start to get all of these different like things start coming to you. And then the people that are actually losing the weight but that don't have a YouTube channel get upset about the fact that this person that started losing weight but now isn't is getting all of these perks, right? Something that happens a lot. And so, it even happens with the plus size community, right? It's not something that is super abnormal, sadly. I think it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Okay, I started all this without having any plan or thinking it would go anywhere, and now I'm supposed to be the face of body positivity or the face of the plus size community. Yeah, people they see something and they attach themselves to it so hard, right? And it's really, really dangerous. This is why, I don't know, when people are like, oh my God, you changed my life. I'm like, dude, no, I didn't. I didn't. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy that has a lot of flaws, okay? I'm not special. Please, for the love of God, I'm not special, right? Or whatever people want to say, I'm considered too big to be mid-size, but the plus size community says I'm not big enough to have a say in things. Like size charts, I keep thinking, where do you want me to be and what do you want me to say? Because I really don't know the right things to say anymore. Again, we've talked about this before, but I remember when like that whole thing about like the different sizes of plus size, about like medium fat, infinifat, large fat, extra fat. Like it was, again, just further separating yourself, I don't think is the best idea in the world, but whatever. All this began to affect my mental health. About a year into this, I finally realized that I was getting into a darker place, that my binge eating was starting to get worse, that I needed help. And I was like, I want to take a break from social media, but I can't. I need to post every day. I know that might sound ridiculous if you're someone that doesn't really post on social media like that, but if it is your job, regardless of if you think it's a job or not, you do have to be consistent with it, because if you're not, it will die. Want to know how I know? Because I barely post anymore. And if you look at my Instagram, basically dead. But moving on. Growing up, my parents always told me that I needed to lose weight. My dad would offer me money to lose weight in a fun way. Okay. Like, if you lose this amount of weight by this time, I'll give you this much money. Sometimes he'd say things like, you're never going to get a boyfriend if you don't eat slower. My mom grew up with people telling her that she had to be skinny, and I was always on a diet because she was always on a diet. It was almost a fun thing we did together. Okay, well, that's you. In 2019, I was super stressed at work. I had a roommate at the time, and at some point, I started coming home from work late. I would order food, close my door, turn off my phone, sit in my room, and just eat. I think a lot of us can relate to that. And then after, I would cry about it because I would eat such an extreme amount. It got a little better when I was living with my family during COVID, but then I moved back to the city, started living alone again, and it just got worse and worse. During my first year of TikTok, I just let myself go. In a way, I literally only cared about how videos were doing. I didn't have a full team. I just had my agents. I was managing things by myself, and I had no time to work out, to do therapy, or to watch an enjoyable TV show, to go for a walk, to eat at the right time. So I would just binge at night. Now, I understand what it's like to be busy. I had times where I had 2 jobs and stuff like that, right? But I think that this is a little it's a little victimization. I think that I understand that things can be hard when it's new, right? When you're in a transition period, but you can usually find time to work out, right? Like I know people that are much busier than me, that have children and have all of these other responsibilities that are able to find time. So I've always said if something is very, very important to you, you can usually find the time to do that thing, right? And so usually it's not like there's just literally no time in the day, right? You don't need, in my opinion, you don't need extra time to make a better choice of a meal, right? Even if you're ordering out, you don't need extra time to pick the healthier option, right? The option that has a little bit less calories. But that's besides the point. I'm kind of getting off track. Okay. So in summer of 2022, I checked myself into an eating disorder treatment center. Every day would start with sessions, art therapy, body image, nutrition, and then you'd have a meal together. Everyone had different food because everyone had different eating disorders. They did this thing where before you ate, you'd go around the room and rate your hunger and anxiety level, and talk about your intentions for the meal. My intentions are that I'm gonna eat this MF. That's how I would answer the questions. You take 3 deep breaths and then you'd eat. Eating together was the most helpful part for me. My binging always got worse when I was alone. Yeah, when I struggled with binging, I never did it in front of anyone. Right? It was always when I was at home alone in the dark. Everyone was asleep already. That's when it would happen. Right? The majority of people that stay at treatment center for months and months until they get way better. I gave myself 6 weeks. By the end of that time, I knew I wasn't ready to leave, and they wanted me to stay longer. They told me you can't really just take a break and come back. But I was leaving for Europe for work the next day, and while I was at the center, I couldn't have my phone. I actually like that, but posting on TikTok is my business, so I told myself I had to get back to work. I kind of didn't have a choice. During the first couple of weeks out of treatment, I was feeling okay. I thought, wow, this must have worked. But then I went to all these fashion weeks, and while I was there, I realized literally no one cared about inclusivity. Yeah, it's usually how brands work. They're like, yeah, we totally care. And then you get behind the scenes and you're like, oh, they don't actually care. But, it is what it is. I was scanning each show to see who brought out plus-size models or had any diversity whatsoever. And there was barely anything. Yeah, that's how it be. I remember being in Paris at parties and events and being struck by the realization that I am the biggest girl around. The only larger person in the room, period. I thought, why am I here? Why not? That's why, all right? When you leave the center, you're supposed to have a therapist and an eating coach to meet with back home. I never did that. I still have never done that. Maybe you should do that. And by the time I got to New York, once I got back to a reality a little bit, I slowly started binging again. I'll never know the exact reason why I relapsed, but I will say it's hard being a bigger woman in fashion. There was a moment during that fashion week where I was trying to not cry because I was going down these stairs and there was like a million stairs at the Revolve Gallery or something, and my knee kind of went out. That's not good. And I just felt so frustrated and heavy kind of walking down the stairs, just thought I'm almost hurting my body. Yeah, I mean, weight has consequences, right? I'm supposed to be promoting self-love, but I'm not going to pretend I love my body all the time, which is what I'm expected to do. I don't like being called body positive vibes. I can't really say, wow, social media ruined me. I was in a worse place before I was on TikTok, and I do feel like social media has done more good than harm. I think this is one of those things that people really struggle with. Like if you're on social media and you have dealt with some negativity, it's like, well, I don't really want to, because I struggle with this too. Like there have been positives from social media for me, absolutely. From YouTube, absolutely. But there also has been negatives, and I think it's like just because you bring up the negatives doesn't mean that you're saying it's all negative, right? It's relative, and there have been negatives and there have been positives. It just is what it is, right? I think that's how most things in life work, right? Moving on. I feel like I've got a lot of my confidence back. After Paris Fashion Week last year, I went back to making realistic haul videos and tried to stop reading the comments. That's usually a good idea. I have all these people that say I help them, but really they're helping me. But the sad part is the video is blowing up and I'm gaining followers and I'm in a great mood. I understand that. Even my boyfriend said the other day, oh, I hope your video does well. That'll be good for me. I'm like, why? And he goes, because you're in a better mood when they do. Yeah. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Brands have actually made changes, whether that's putting larger girls on their website, extending their sizes. As for my weight, yes, I'm frustrated by it, but I also don't want to try to lose weight because this is where it gets a little weird. Because that's where I started, that's what started my binge eating in the first place. And I want to get better, but that's hard in the fashion world. And now I'm also thinking about my followers. This part, what would I do if I lost all this weight? Or if I gained more? It's about me, but it's about everyone else too. That last part right there, really speaks to me, right? Genuinely, right? Like saying, I want to lose weight, or I don't want to lose weight, but also you kind of do, right? It's like, I feel that these negative effects of my weight, right? The knee problems and whatever else is going on. And then like genuinely feeling like you can't because you struggle with BED. I disagree with that. I do think that it's going to make it probably a little bit more difficult, and it's going to be scarier, right? If you've never dealt with BED, you might think that sounds ridiculous. Oh, losing weight is scary, but it can be, right? If you are struggling with relapsing and being afraid of that happening, it can be scary. But truly, if you're watching, right? If you're listening, I truly believe you can do it. If it's something that you actually want to do, you're going to have to find the time to eat a little bit better, make better choices, maybe go to the gym or just go on some walks or something. Like you're going to have to find that time. I don't know when it is. Maybe you have to wake up a little bit earlier. I don't know what the answer is for you specifically, but I will say I do absolutely believe that you can do it. It's the first thing that I want to say. The other thing that I want to bring up, and this is something that I've talked about before, it is crazy, and she brings it up herself, that she is genuinely almost afraid to lose weight because she doesn't know what it will do to affect her social media following, right? That is a very new thing that has started happening recently. And I don't have the answer for it, but I just want to point it out because I've been talking about this for a long time, and now people are actually being honest about it and saying, nah, that's actually how I feel, right? That's actually a worry that I have. That's actually something that's going on in my mind. Because I've always said, it might not be something you're actively thinking about, but it's in the back of your mind without you even realizing it, right? It seems like it's something that she realized. I don't have the answer for that. I wouldn't even act like I have the answer for that, but I do think that it's interesting and it's something that we should be paying attention to. But that's the whole article. I really wanted to share it with you. I'm curious what you guys think. What are your thoughts about it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'm just kind of curious. But thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.